to this week's installment of The Lake Show. Now, this week I have my good friend on, lifelong friend Nate Solak. How you doing, sir?
Good, man. How are you doing?
I can't complain, It was a fun 4th of July weekend.
That's good.
Did you do something fun?
I did. Hung out with some of my friends, swam a little bit, played some spike ball. Typical 4th of July festivities. Nothing too crazy.
Did you win in spike ball?
Yes, we won. I lost a few, won some. We didn't know the rules at first, so there was some adjustment learning the rules of the game.
So it's like sports gambling for you.
No.
You win some, you lose a lot.
That's really just life in general. You win some, you lose some.
That's very fucking true, brother. So, you are graduated finally, right?
I am. As of May, I'm a college graduate.
Nice. So give a little background about yourself. Talk about your upbringing, what you went to school for, all that stuff.
Yeah, so I graduated from high school with you at Lowville, and after that, I went into college. When I was going into college, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and so I went to Toledo for pharmacy because pharmacists make a lot of money. That was the only reason I chose pharmacy.
Because of money?
Because of money. I didn't have any desire to be a pharmacist, and as I was taking these classes, I started realizing that, and I was like, I don't really like what I'm doing. I need to change my major, So I was going to Toledo and changed my major. Once I changed my major, it made a lot more sense to come back to ISU financially.
Okay.
So then eventually picked education, decided that's what I wanted to do, and took the classes, and now I'm graduated.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So walk me through the process you took when deciding to go to college. Like, you ended up going to Toledo, obviously you came back, but what was the decision-making process like for you, coming out of high school once we graduated? Like, what set you at Toledo? Like, I know you said that you wanted to do pharmacy specifically because of the money, because they make great money, but, what led you to go to Toledo?
Right, so I actually got a scholarship at Toledo. There aren't many pharmacy schools in the area. YSU doesn't have a pharmacy program.
Okay.
If they did, I would have just went there. There's not too many ones. Toledo was the cheapest, and I got a nice scholarship to go there for pharmacy. So that's why I chose Toledo. Really, like I said, though, no other reason. No.
Any other schools that you had in mind at that point?
No, I didn't do too much looking. After I wanted to go into pharmacy, I saw Toledo, they offered me the scholarship. That was really it. I don't think I applied anywhere else, really, other than Toledo and YSU.
So at the time when you were in Toledo, how long were you there for again?
Just a year and a half. So
Okay.
3 semesters.
3 semesters. What was the toughest part about being there? Those 3 semesters at least.
Toughest part, I did miss everybody. Like, I missed my family, I missed you guys, because I was away from everybody. The school, I wasn't taking easy classes. That was kind of tough. But I enjoyed my time at Toledo to an extent. It's just once I switched my majors, it made no sense to stay there.
I understand. I feel like a lot of people, especially our age, we have no idea what we want to do with our lives. I'm on social media all the time. I see kids our age, like, they have it all figured out and all that stuff. What do you think the driving force is for kids these days, like, not really knowing what they want to do? Like, what do you think holds them back?
Well, I think it is important to realize, like, everyone moves at their own pace. No 2 people are the same. Some people have their whole life figured out young. Some people know what they want to do and they go and do it. Some people, it takes them longer to. So I think it's important, one, to not compare yourself to other people. And if you don't have it figured out, that is okay. You have time to figure it out. You have your whole life.
That's life. We live and we learn. We grow by the day, by the week, month, and so on.
Right. 100%.
But I do feel for those people out there who do struggle, like, not knowing what to do. I was that for a long time. A lot of people know my past and what I've been going through and what I've dealt with, and it's not easy. I think the mental health aspect of when it comes to school and life after high school, I think that's an underrated component of, something that people just don't take into account.
100%. And even in high school, I know a lot of people deal with mental health issues too. It's everywhere. But it is important that you're not alone. You know,
Mhm.
a lot of people are having similar things. It's actually funny because it was 3 years ago on the 4th of July where I was like, I have no idea what I want to do with my life. You know, I was like having early life crisis, and like I need to figure it out right now. So it was 3 years ago yesterday I had this moment.
Yeah.
And so within the next couple weeks I really just thought, you know, what do I want to do? Where do I want my life to go? And I eventually landed on education, and I'm happy I did because I really enjoy it.
Did your parents have anything to do with you switching to education?
No, they tried to make me not switch to education. They tried their hardest to talk me out of it. For a
Really?
bit. Yeah. Because they know, I mean, they've been doing it. They know all the
Years.
stuff that goes in with it, all the, like, not political stuff, but
There's
stuff like that.
there's a certain curriculum that teachers have to follow, correct?
Right, there is for every class, and that's not. They actually really enjoy teaching though.
Yeah.
They like working with the kids, and that's what I like too. It's the other stuff they don't like. That stuff doesn't bother me as much. At least, I mean, I just started.
Yeah.
It might end up bothering me. I'm sure.
You might
Having
think
some
about it
issues.
later down the line, but you know,
Right.
starting off, that's not really something I would say you think about, right?
No, not at all. Right now, I'm really happy with what I'm doing.
That's
And,
good.
Yeah.
I love your parents, bro. I mean, Mr. Solak, the GOAT, tutored me in high school. He even tutored me part of college.
Yeah.
Or, I think it was my junior year when I switched over to the business field. You know, I needed help in math. And before, like, the previous math class I took, before I switched in college was, you know, your dad's
Mm-hmm.
Algebra 2 class, I think it was.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Lobo switches around between two teachers, but I forget the math class. But moral of the story, I didn't take a math class until my junior year of college after high school. So
Right.
I felt like the biggest dumbass on the planet. I'm like, bro, how did I forget math so
It's-
easily?
You're not doing it a lot. I mean, you forget it. I've noticed. Like when I was teaching last year, there was stuff I would look at the book and stuff. Like I don't remember this stuff, so I'd have to go and learn it.
Mhm.
Obviously, before I taught it, if I don't know what I'm doing, you know. That is funny you said that. Brought up my dad because he is probably the main reason I switched to education.
Mhm.
Just I look at in my life everyone I looked up to, both my parents, my dad and my mom. They were all teachers or coaches.
Mhm.
Everyone I looked up to. And that's kind of what I want to do. I want to be that for students or kids.
In a
Be
way, you're a
someone they can
leader
look
at
up
some
to.
point.
Yeah, 100%. You know, like you have to be there for kids at the end of the day.
I
That's what I
agree.
like doing.
Absolutely. Now, do you still coach?
I do.
Where at?
Hubbard. So I'm teaching and coaching at Hubbard
Okay, so when did you leave McDonald?
this past year.
This past
So
year.
I coached there this last year. I was varsity assistant. And so one of the assistants at McDonald, his name's Ryan Fitch, got the head job at Hubbard
Okay.
basketball this year. And so he's like, I'm teaching there, and said, hey, would you want to come with me? You know, you're in the building.
Yeah.
It just made sense for both of us.
Yeah.
So
What was the
Yeah.
process like for, did you get offered the Hubbard job or like, did you go actively searching for it?
I didn't apply, so I'm not the head coach, but the head coach I knew. So once he was applying for the job, he just texted me and said, hey, I'm gonna apply for the Hubbard job. If I get it, would you want to be the JV coach? Would you want to come with me? And I said, yeah, definitely.
So did those go hand in hand, the coaching and the teaching aspect? Like, did you look at the teaching aspect first when it came to Hubbard or the coaching aspect?
I was in the process of getting hired as a teacher this year. It all happened at once. It really did. So I took over. So I'll just take you back through the whole thing. So this past semester was my student teaching.
Okay.
I was a student teacher. For my student teaching, I took over this classroom. Like I was the teacher. So I wasn't working under another teacher. I was teaching this class.
Mhm.
And I was on salary too. So it was a rare situation, worked out for me. So, but I didn't have the job for next year. They still had to post it, so I had to apply.
Okay.
So I was applying for it. I was going through the interview process, and that's also when they were doing the interview process for the coaching,
Mhm.
for the coaching position. So it was all one meeting where I went down and they told me like I was hired for both teaching and coaching.
Okay.
But the coaching kind of just happened. I wasn't out there looking for it.
You didn't plan on that?
No, I didn't. It really did happen quick. But I'm
You-
glad it did.
You got it, did?
Yeah.
What's your favorite part about coaching?
like I said, developing relationships with students, with kids. And I love basketball.
Mhm.
I always have. I love basketball, and I like teaching the game of basketball. I like being around it, like being around basketball, like going to these summer camps when you have like 100 teams there just playing. Like that's awesome to me. You see some really good players, some like different like coaching philosophies all over the place, and that's the best part for me is being around the game, teaching it to kids.
I'd say around that sort of thing, it's a very big learning experience, right?
No, definitely, yeah. Just in general, yeah.
I feel that, man. I really do. Is there anything that stands out with basketball over, like, let's say baseball and football? Because, I mean, we played all of those sports together. I mean, I didn't play basketball, but, you know, I was always at every game. You know, I basically knew what you guys were all about. But how would you say that basketball affected you more in life compared to, like, sports like baseball and football that we also played together?
Yeah, I just always loved basketball. Always loved it more. I like playing baseball. I like playing football. I just always had more of an attachment to basketball. I think it came from when I was really young. My sister would play, and I would go to all of her games, like all of her AAU games. Her and my cousin Taylor's, they would play AAU together. Go to all her games throughout junior high, high school, and I think that's where I really fell in love with the game.
Right?
Yeah, was then, and I always knew like I wanted to do like I wanted that to still be part of my life some way. Basketball.
Yeah. That's how I felt about football for a long time. I mean, obviously, you know, I went to Geneva College for that. You know, utmost praise for all those athletes out there who can do it because it is tough to balance academics as well as football or any college athletics. So, if I was ever offered like a job for a coaching position, I mean, I know I was offered something for Camel about probably 2 summers ago. I was going to be a assistant coach for the junior high team, which I would have loved because, you know, I have such a, like you for basketball, I have such a passion for football. I've always loved it, you know, grew up watching it. My parent, like my grandfather, my father, my uncle, everyone I knew played football in the family. So, you know, I agree with you that, you know, a lot of coaches out there, like, have their own certain way of doing things, and I feel like the more abrupt coaches, like the ones that scream and yell all the time, I feel like that you don't get through to kids like that at all. Now, I'm not going to be the one to judge any coach because, you know, I've never done it. I can't tell you how I'd conduct myself really fully, but as far as the screaming and yelling at kids like over simple mistakes, like I get it, you got to get better, but you know, I don't agree and stuff like that. What's your philosophy when you know, teach kids the game of basketball?
So I agree with you in what you said about the screaming and yelling. There's actually a lot of studies out there that show there is no correlation with the more aggressive, the more a coach yells at winning or effectiveness. And I think, to me, every kid is different. Certain kids you can yell at, you could say, you know, be aggressive with them, and they'll respond well. Other kids will not. I had a 7th grader once when I coached 7th grade basketball. I didn't really even yell at him. I said something, you know, like, hey, you need to do this. I said it in a stronger tone, and he like started crying and like shut down. So I'm like, okay, so I can't do it.
Can't do that with that kid.
So I mean, but you learn, and like, so certain kids, you can be aggressive with, other ones you have to tell differently. I guess my philosophy is just trying to teach them the right play. You know, if they do something wrong, tell them what they should have done. But also, a lot of it too, they need to be rewarded. Like if they do something well, you need to let them know. Like positive reinforcement is as good as negative reinforcement.
Oh, 100%. I agree with that.
You know what I mean? If they make a good play, let them know. But yeah, I mean, that's my philosophy. But I agree with you on the yelling aspect. I don't think that necessarily translates to winning.
Yeah, I mean, we both know we've had coaches that scream and yell.
Right, we have, 100%.
Fun times, man.
And I don't mind it, I really don't. That's how some coaches are. But I agree with you that I don't necessarily think it works.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, there are times, I think as a coach, you need to be aggressive. You need to set the
I feel
tone.
like as a player too, you need that kick in the ass every now and then.
Yes.
If you're screwing up. But you know, I'll let you continue on that.
No, that's all I had to say.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What do you miss about high school, man?
the older I get, the less I miss about high school.
Really?
I think the main thing I miss is just being with you guys every day. You know, eating lunch together, because I don't see you as much often.
I don't miss those lunches. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, but I couldn't stand any of those lunches.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, the lunches itself sucked, but you know, the atmosphere of the lunch was good.
oh, absolutely.
Being with everyone. But that's what I miss, is because now I saw like a stat that said once you graduate high school, like your friends from high school, you've already seen them 95% of the time. You'll see them the rest of your life, which is crazy to think about. But if you really think about it, like in high school, we saw each other every day.
And we saw each other on weekends, almost every
Right.
weekend. So
See, literally every day we saw each other. We
Yeah.
would be at school together. We go to practice. We hang out after practice. Go get food or whatever. On the weekends we hang out. Now we don't see each other nearly as much.
I know.
You know? So that's the main thing I miss.
it
is
feels
seeing everybody.
really weird to me. You know, it's still so surreal. Like you graduated, Matt graduated. It just feels so weird nowadays. But you know, I come to realize that you know it's just life. You know, we all live, we all grow, and we all have different priorities in our life. So, with that being said, what would you say your top priority is right now, being past college now?
I always try to keep my top priority as my family and friends, making sure I keep those relationships. That's always going to be number one for me. After that, it's my career. Teaching, coaching comes second. That's what I prioritize most. And then everything else is just bonus at that point.
Yeah.
I don't have much else that I really care about enough, you know?
To give full force effort into that stuff. But,
Yeah.
you know, family, that's always going to be a big one for me. Family, friends, you know, I would die for any one of you guys. I would die for any one of my family members, you know, because at the end of the day, family's forever, like no matter what. And especially what really hit me, it actually hit me 2 days ago, like of how much like I miss everyone being together was, you know, 2 years ago, yesterday was my house fire. Which
was it really?
It's so crazy to think about. It's like all those pictures popped up. I'm like, oh wow, that did happen. I knew today seemed off, but that's why, you know, I know people come and go in life. I know that's normal and that's gonna happen, but it makes me even more grateful that I spent that time with all you guys, because, you know, what you guys did for me and my family, you know, I feel indebted to you guys forever for that. I mean, I couldn't have asked for any better friend group.
You're never indebted to me, so I don't think of that, because you're not.
Even so, man, I mean, you guys didn't have to do any of that stuff, but you guys, the night it happened, were literally on the phone making calls, like doing this, that, and the other to make sure that me and my family were okay. And, you know, that's something that I think a lot of people need to realize is surround yourself with good people, no matter what, because your day ones are going to be there for you till you die. I mean, that's how I feel about you, Matt, literally everyone we know, because, you know, that just had such a profound impact on my life. And, you know, it just made me realize like how fortunate I am in this world to have the people I have, because, you know, I know there are plenty of people out there who are less fortunate than me. You know, we have the luxury of going to school. Well, I still do for one more semester, but you know, we have roofs over our heads, food on the table, great support group, great friends, family. You know, that's why I never take anything for granted anymore.
I think you're a very good person, and so is your family, so you guys deserve everything. You know, all the help we gave you was because you guys make it easy for us to help you, you know?
I wouldn't even consider you guys friends anymore. It's just like, you're family to me. You know, that's what it's always. I feel like that's, especially me, you, like, hell, we went to school together since first grade.
I've known you a long time.
A long time. So at that point, it was like brothers without the blood.
Yeah. We've been together a long time. Together.
Fuck yeah, man. What was your favorite trip that we took out of all the ones we went on?
I think the Florida one. I had so much fun on that
Fort
trip.
Myers?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The Fort Myers trip. That was so much fun.
That's
we went to Florida twice. But yeah, the first one we went to Fort Myers. That one. Or was it? Yeah, it was Fort Myers.
Mhm.
Yes, I had so much fun on that trip. It was a great
How
time.
many people were there? 20?
20 of us, I think.
That's sickening.
Yeah.
You know,
Awesome, though.
we'll never get that house for that price ever again.
Ever.
Like the chips just fell in our favor. I mean, obviously, COVID fucked the world up, but
That was awesome though.
It
That was so much fun. Next year was fun too. I just, for some reason, that first one just
it just hit different.
did.
I think it was just the fact that there were, 20 of us. Like all of us that went on that trip, we were, we all grew up together. It was just like the biggest trip that we ever took.
Right. We were literally in a mansion. It
Literally,
was like a mansion with
three stories.
a pool, a hot tub. It was awesome.
I'll never forget, dude. I was in the shower. A fucking crab,
Yeah.
like a small crab, walked into my
Yeah.
fucking shower, and I thought I was gonna get fucking pinched.
I saw the same crab. It was in the shower downstairs. And are you talking about the downstairs shower?
Yeah.
Yeah, the same crab. I thought it was a spider because it was so small.
Oh, you hate spiders.
And I hate spiders because it was like crawling. And then I think you or Nick told me it was a crab. I felt a little better about it because I'm less scared of crabs than I am spiders. I still wasn't comfortable because I slept down there. And I felt at any point this crab can just walk up to me.
Imagine you sleeping. I can picture you sleeping on the couch and a crab just crawling up your
That'd
chest.
be horrible. That'd be terrifying waking up to that. Someone got it out though. I don't know who. It wasn't me.
Did someone get it out?
Nick got it out, I think. He swept it out or something. You know Nick.
Dude swept it out with a broom.
Did something like that. He just came up to me and said the crab's gone, so don't worry about it.
Cool. I can sleep well at night now. We're gonna circle back to your time in college.
Sure.
So, what was the most overrated aspect, would you say, about all of college? I'm talking it could be the teachers themselves, it could be the stuff you're actually learning in class, in lecture, or it could be like outside sources, like vacations, partying, whatever it may be.
I would say, in general, I had a really good time in college and I enjoyed my experience.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the most overrated aspect is probably the bar scene. I figured I would just go downtown and have a lot of fun, and it wasn't for me. Now, some people like it. I didn't love it. I still don't. Like going out and going downtown to bars and stuff, that's not my cup of tea. So I would say that was the most overrated aspect going into college was that for sure.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. That's what I think now, but for a long time I'm like, even leading up to college, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a blast. We're gonna go out, party, have a great time, until, you get that bank statement in the morning, say how much you spent. So we talked about the most overrated aspect of college. What do you think something that's underrated going to college? Because I know a lot of people say you don't need to go to college, but me personally, while I have my issues with college and the whole education system basically in and of itself, I still believe in going, making new friends, making connections, broaden your spectrum a little bit. You're able to learn and grow so much from other people. That's why the biggest takeaway from college, for me at least, was I learned valuable communication skills. I got out of my comfort zone, met new people, and did all this, that, and the other. What say you?
Same thing, getting out of your comfort zone. I noticed I started having a lot more fun in college. I really enjoyed it once I made friends in my major.
Mm-hmm.
So mind you, like I told you, I switched majors. So it took me a few years before I really met anybody in my major because of COVID and everything.
Yeah.
I switched during COVID, so all my classes were online. Once I made friends in my major, I really enjoyed going to college. So I think that's the most underrated aspect, making friends with people who have similar interests to who you're going to see a lot in class. So once I did that, I really enjoyed my time there.
I gotcha. I want to go back to what you said about COVID. So we were still in school then. So were you in Toledo, or did you come?
That was my first semester at YSU, was the COVID one.
Okay. How did that, I'm curious because I never got that perspective, at least because your parents are teachers. How did that affect them and what they did? Obviously at YSU, we went completely online. They had no idea what to do. I absolutely hated it. I thought, oh, school's shut down for another 2 weeks. Lit, an extra long spring break. Turned out to be one of the worst things that could have happened to me personally. I know a lot of people were affected by it, but I need to be in class to actually pay attention and take notes and get stuff done. What would you say if your parents ever talked to you about it, like what was the toughest thing about their
No.
jobs at that point?
They did, and they hated it because everything was online for them. You know, they had to, and they're older. They're not very great with technology, as were probably a ton of teachers at the time.
Yeah.
They didn't know how to do any of this, and they said, I mean, I went through it. I did the same thing because all the students just started cheating their way through school, and no one was learning anything.
Mhm.
So it was super easy. Everything was online. They never had to really do any assignments. One person would do it. Everyone would copy one person.
Yeah. And there was no way to like really prevent that.
There's no way to hold there was no way to hold anybody accountable with how it was set up.
Mm-hmm.
So they hated it. And I think being in the education system now, I could really tell the students who went through that, because 2 years ago, some of the ones that were supposed to be in algebra didn't get any of that, didn't really learn any of it.
Mhm.
And so their algebra skills aren't as high. I noticed I was teaching pre-calc, and a lot of like my students' algebra skills were lower, and so I had to go back and reteach a lot of algebra stuff, just because when they went through that, they didn't really learn it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They got like the bare bones minimum sort of information about
Right, and that's important concepts that just build on each other. It's what algebra is constantly, building next level. So
Yeah.
if you don't get the basics, you don't understand
You're
the
not
bare
gonna
minimum,
advance.
right? You're not going to be able to understand what's up there.
Yeah. COVID was a tough time, man. You know, I think about that all the time, like what would have happened, like how life would be different if it never happened. But I don't typically worry about it nowadays. I mean, it sucked when it was happening at the time, but it is what it is. You live and you learn. You have to evolve and adapt to any given situation.
Right, and we got through it. So.
And we did. It was tough, but we got through it. So I know I mentioned a couple minutes ago that I have my issues with the education system, and I'm not saying there are a ton of bad teachers out there. I know teachers love their jobs, like they became teachers to teach the youth. What do you think the biggest issue is with the education system nowadays?
So in terms of the system itself, it goes from elementary to middle school, high school. That's never going to change. That's just how it is.
Mm-hmm.
So the structure is always going to be the same. So I guess what people complain about is what you learn in your time, specifically more so in high school than anything.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's a better way to do it. I think at the end of the day, teachers are responsible for teaching. No matter what the teacher is teaching, if they can't get their students involved, if they can't make them want to learn it,
Mm-hmm.
the kids aren't going to.
Yeah.
They're not. So it's our responsibility as teachers that no matter what we're teaching, whether someone thinks it's really important or not, we have to teach it, and we have to be able to get it through to the students.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for students, I know they also have to have the mindset that they want to learn something. I think it's really easy to get in the mindset, and I've done it before, where I'm never going to need to know this, why do I have to learn it?
Yeah.
I've done it, a lot of students do it, but at the end of the day, you still have to learn it, and you have to do it. And the students who realize that, and the students who don't complain, whether if they're learning something like the Pythagorean theorem, they might never need to use the Pythagorean theorem in their life.
Yeah.
But if they're willing to sit there, understand it, and learn it, they're going to be willing to sit there, understand, and learn their way through college, and be able to sit there and work their way through school,
Mm-hmm.
through their job one day. And I think that's the important part, is not getting in the mindset where, I'm never going to need this, why learn it, and just doing it. Because those students who do it are going to be the ones who are successful.
Mm-hmm.
And the ones who want to complain, they're always going to find a way to complain about it and not do something.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's an issue. Maybe we could teach different things, but I think it's going to be at the end of the day, people are going to say, why do I need to learn this? When they could just learn it.
Yeah.
Could just do it.
One thing that I wish that the education system taught more was money, and finances and all that stuff. Even when we were in Miss Irusi's class, we didn't, even when we took economics, we didn't learn, a whole terrible amount about it. But, that you'd be surprised at how many people, I've asked this question before, nobody can name me the 3 types of income. Nobody, can tell me how to read a credit score or write a check. It's some basic things about money that just people don't know nowadays. I think finances and how money works should be taught in schools more. I mean, if at all. I don't even know if there's any
So Hubbard, we do have a personal financial literacy teacher.
Really?
Yes,
That's-
that's all he teaches all day. He's right across the hall from me. So I go and talk to him whenever I don't understand something about money. But we didn't have that at Louisville. A lot of bigger schools do have it.
Mm-hmm.
So they have a personal financial literacy thing. But it's the same issue where if, teacher has to be able to teach it and the students have to want to learn it.
Yeah.
Because if they just go through the motions and don't really understand it,
Yeah.
they're not going to know it when they need to down the line. But more schools are starting to implement that. And I do think that's very important.
At the end of the
Something to
day, I
teach.
mean, money makes the world go round. I mean, it's hard to live without it. And I think the younger you are when you learn that stuff, the better off in life you'll be. I mean, for me, I've been irresponsible, I would say, with my money at times. I mean,
Definitely, I have as well.
we talked about the sports gambling. Hey, my parlays are going to hit this year. I already made 2 big ones. I predicted all the conference championship winners in college football and the division winners in the NFL.
There you go. I like that.
$17,000 payout is coming my way.
Yeah, no, I definitely make bad decisions with my money, but I'm getting better. Now that I've actually have an income, I've noticed like how quick money could go away if
Yeah.
you just spend it on stuff. So I have gotten better with not making as many purchases, spending money on things I don't need. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Has there been anything in your life, like up to this point, that that you struggled with personally that maybe still is in the back of your head, or maybe kind of holds you back in a way, if you feel like you're not going exactly where you want to go?
So I think not as much anymore, but definitely I was always too worried about what people thought of me, And I think a lot of people struggle with that as well, like caring too much what people think about you. And a few years ago I really struggled with it. Now I don't as much. Because at the end of the day, what I realized is I have my family loves me, I have friends. It's really all I care about, As long as I'm okay with them, I have those relationships, I think everything else will fall into place. But that hindered me a lot, was just caring too much what other people thought about me.
Mm-hmm. Where do you think that comes from?
I think a lot of it, I really do, stems from social media. I think a lot of it does. Like, I think just because everything on social media is public perception.
Mm-hmm.
Everything you see is you're seeing other people's lives, what they're doing. And it kind of, to me, it made my priorities, I didn't really have good priorities at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like all that mattered was how people see me. That's what I cared about the most. It's
Mm-hmm.
like how the outside world views me as a person, instead of really focusing on what matters, which is family, friends, to me, a good career. And I think a lot of it does stem from social media, I really do.
I think social media is one of the worst possible things that we have in this generation. Going back to COVID, we were locked down the whole time, couldn't go anywhere, and obviously a lot of us didn't pay attention in class. Like I told Alex this when I had him on 2 weeks ago, that I had my laptop open because we didn't have to have our camcorders on for views or whatever. So
Yes.
I had one AirPod in, just quote unquote listening to the teacher, but I was just playing Call of Duty the whole time. So outside of that, when there was nothing else to do, I find myself scrolling through social media. What really hinders a lot of people, I feel, is the fact that we see kids our age, like having it all, living their dreams.
Yes.
Like, that does something to you. And that really affected me, like personally, because, I always thought of myself as someone who grinds, someone who works really hard to get what he wants. But at the same time, I didn't even know what I wanted until, I saw kids our age, like living the lifestyle that I wanted. And some of the people have no talent whatsoever. That did something to me and really affected me in a negative way.
That is really, though, that is such a small population of people, though.
I agree.
Like, I mean, that's what we see on social media because that's what's put out there. But the amount of people that really is, like those Charlie D'Amelios, that is the top 0.00001% of 20-year-olds.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I do think social media has its benefits. I think it connects people in a way.
Right here.
Yeah,
Right
exactly.
here.
It definitely has its benefits, but it also, I think people start like almost living their lives through social media,
Mhm.
like caring way too much what people think about them, and really looking for views and stuff like that, as opposed to just being a person,
Just living your life.
just living your life.
I find myself with a double-edged sword almost because, if I wasn't doing this, I probably would have been off social media by now because it is that like toxic to me and pointless in some ways, but I'm an avid user of it and I will continue to be an avid user of all of this because, I found something that I love doing.
And this is the good part of social media, this is.
Mm-hmm. You think so?
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like a lot of people are very uncomfortable talking about the stuff I talk about because it's just, I feel like a lot of people don't ask them. Nobody really talks about the mental health aspect of anything in this world.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not going to be the one to coddle you and sugarcoat anything, if something's bugging you. Obviously, if something is wrong in your life, you need to change it to better yourself. But at the end of the day, I did this to help people, to make people realize that there's more than one way to be successful. Like, we're not all on set paths. We all have our different paths and journeys that we got to take in life. So you have to provide yourself with the necessary tools to, grow and evolve as a better person.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I try to do this, to let people know, like, you're in education. Alex in business admin, had my guy on who owns his own gym, and so on and so forth. Like, there's more than one avenue to take to be happy and successful.
100%, yeah. And it's all perspective too. Everyone's happiness is different,
Mm-hmm.
And no one's path is the same. So just because someone's living their life a certain way and they're happy doesn't mean if you did that exact one thing, you'd be happy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I know people with, they have a lot of money. They don't have to worry about it ever again. They are some of the most miserable people in the world.
They are.
Whereas
100%.
I know my one family member has a family friend who has cancer. Wakes up every day with a smile on her face and just goes through life, loving it. That really, hit me when I was told that story. It's like, wow, we all have bad days. To go through that and still like spread joy and be happy and go through life, not caring whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
That really impacts me when it comes to stuff like that.
100%. And people, it's the most common saying in the world, money can't buy happiness. But it is 100% true. Like what you said, there's people who are out there making millions, but they're miserable. So what does it really mean, if you're making that much money, but you're not happy? And that's the most important thing, is being happy, being content.
As long as you're content with yourself, at the end of the day, you can do whatever you want, whenever you want, and nobody's going to stop you because you're just doing you. And as long as you're happy with yourself, there's nothing anyone on this planet can tell you to change that.
Definitely, I agree 100%.
It's crazy, man. It's a crazy world we live in. Now, I do feel bad for those people who do struggle with mental health. I highly encourage people to, talk about it. Not to the point where, it's, poor me, poor this. Like, we all go through bad things, but really use it as use your past hurt to fuel you and use it as a teaching lesson. So how things could be possibly different in the future. Rather than hanging on to the past, let it go, use it as a lesson, fuel your fire.
Mm-hmm. I think people do struggle with that, struggle talking about it. Like when they're going through mental health issues, they struggle talking about it. They really do. And people try to keep it in them and it just keeps getting buried down. At some point you do need to talk about it.
That's how I was for many, many years. I've talked about it on this platform before, that after so many years of just, burying it down inside, you just want to explode.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like such a fresh breath of air once I started talking about it and just letting go of the past, putting my life into perspective and really realizing that nothing is as bad as I was making it out to be. So it just made life a little bit easier, and now, I have no complaints in the world.
I saw a quote the other day that I really liked. It wasn't a quote, but it said, if you're overthinking something you did, maybe having anxiety about something you did in the past, maybe the last night, whatever, stop and think about it. Think, okay, is there anything I could do to change what happened? Is there anything I can do right now, right this second, to make it better? And if the answer is yes, do it. Do whatever will make it better. If the answer is no, then forget about it because you can't change it anyway.
Yeah.
I really like that, and I've been trying to do that more often. Like really think, is there anything that I could do to change what's making me feel like this? And if there's not, just let it go. It doesn't matter.
One thing my therapist always said to me and preached to me was the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. You know, some things are just out of your control in this world, and there's nothing you'll be able to do about that. You know, you're gonna get sick, you might be broke one day, you know, everything in this world could be falling apart. But sometimes it's out of your control, and you just have to go with the flow and realize you can only change what you can control.
Yep. Well, with the changes, 100%.
Absolutely. My boy, I'm so happy you came on. I'm
Oh.
really glad that you decided to take time out of your day to come and talk to me.
I'm happy you had me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Is there anything you want to say to my audience when, you know, as we wrap up here?
I have a question, one question. So, because I have an answer to this, I don't know if you do. Is there a moment when you think of me, in general, as a person, Nate, is there a moment or something that happened that you think about? Because there's one I have for you, and I think you might know what the one I have is.
Good or bad? Like,
Just in general, like when you think of me, is there a moment or something that like defines our friendship, something you just think about?
defines our friendship, huh? Well, let's see. I talked about it earlier. You and Sam.
Not that.
All right.
We were young when that happened. We were young.
You put my head through
Yeah.
my wall. Yeah, we were wrestling when we were younger, and he put my head through my wall.
I think about that moment a lot. I really do. I don't know why. It's whenever I think about you, that's what I think about.
When you look at
When
me,
we
that's
were wrestling and I put your head through your wall.
Oh my god.
Because it was, I mean, there was a hole in the wall. I
A
mean, it
literal
went through the
hole.
wall.
It went through the wall.
I think about that.
That was a classic moment.
That was funny. Good times looking back on it. But that's really all I had. I just wanted to know if you would be able to figure it out.
I had a feeling like, that story hasn't been brought up in a long time, but
I
Good
think it
times.
was a lot.
good times. But anyway, Nate, I'm glad you came on, bro. I
Yep.
appreciate it, as always. And that's going to wrap it up this week on The Lake Show. Make sure to hit like and subscribe on YouTube. I'm your host, Dominic Lako. God bless.